Ciò mi fate aiutare, ragazzi. Aiutate. Non c'entra nulla, l'italiano meglio questa ragazza. Non sa fare il suo lavoro. Va bene, let's do something else. Alright, so let's try to see how we work out a model in which generations are overlapping, but they may actually grow. So the intuition is simple, right? If the growth has to come from something that can be accumulated, but it can be accumulated from, can accumulate it forever, and it's in the hands of the young people and not only of the old people, then it has to be something that resembles knowledge. There's nothing very smart in this, but apparently it's a version or another of human capital knowledge, technological knowledge, blah, 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 that allows people to become more productive. So one way of thinking of this is that if we have only two periods, this is not possible. Because either you're born with this skill, and then it doesn't come from a decision, or you're not born with this skill, but by the time you accumulate it, you're old and you die. So, even if you want to be a minimalist with the model, you have to put a 3 period. Again, remember, obviously there are many periods, so we add periods as needed, try to make things mathematically treatable. Well, so imagine now a person that lives for 3 periods, and given that what matters is the process of accumulation, we don't really care about consumption when young. So we use young as a dummy period to learn things. Would it change the results? No, it would not change, so it doesn't really matter. Okay? So we assume that this person cares about consumption when middle age and consumption when old. When young, you're born with a brain, basically. You're born with a brain and some ability to learn and acquire human capital. That means that your production function has capital and human capital embodied in labor. So we write the production function like that. Okay? Now let's remember something from growth theory. If we write the production function like that, where both factors can be accumulated, capital and human capital, K and H, right? And this one is applied to something called labor that is fixed. We could think of this also being applied to something fixed, land, for example. We can imagine capital to be the machines, the building, the infrastructure we build on something given, land, and H be the knowledge, the skill, the techniques, the ability we build on something given, human time, right? So we can take that away as well. Then they're both reproducible, and so now we are actually in this, we have enlarged the set of technologies we are using, right? Because now every factor is reproducible. There is no longer a fixed factor. The factors that count, H and L, are both reproducible, right? So for example, a Cobb-Douglas would do, right? Alpha 1 minus alpha would work. We don't have to go to that special form. Remember, it could be anything, right? As long as there is enough linearity to, in fact, it could even be input-output, right? In a world like this, it could be input-output. The production function might be fixed amount of capital, fixed amount of labor. As long as both grows in tandem, in step, and keep the correct ratio, you grow forever, right? No restriction anymore. Good. Point is that if we have that, we also have to write ways of accumulating. So the simple form is to assume that this is output. Output is broken down in consumption and investment. The capital stock is physical, so it accumulates through investment. And then there has to be something that produces human capital. If there is something that produces human capital, it must cost. Okay, so we have to put inputs there that represent the cost. Again, think, we are trying to model a choice, and so we're trying to represent a cost. We have many choices there. We can use capital through human capital. We can accumulate human capital through human capital. We can accumulate human capital through capital stock. We can accumulate human capital through general resources, right? It's going to make very different, I'm discussing with you the way to build a model, right? It's going to make production functions somewhat different one from the other, okay? But the only thing that matters is to think that what's crucial about accumulating? Think about yourself. What's crucial about you choosing not to work and trying to accumulate more human capital? What's crucial is that you're giving up some consumption, and in particular, you're being subsidized by somebody. In your case, you're kind of lucky, you're being subsidized by the taxpayer, right? If you are doing an MBA, you'll probably be subsidized by borrowing, or your parents. When you were at the university, doing college, you were probably subsidized by your parents. If you did not have the parents, you had to borrow from somebody, right? So in some sense, people that are investing in their education skill are borrowing by somebody. So we can introduce the state if we want, but that's a policy choice. Per se, in the abstract, you're always borrowing from someone, okay? So there is some stuff, call it, in my model I call it D, okay, that produces human capital. So let's see how much human capital people have at t plus 1. They have some amount that depends on this input D. D has to be here at this point, right? It has to come out from here because it has to be part of the output, right? At some power beta. And what? Here you see that the modeling choice become complicated all of a sudden. Because we can go two ways. We can go full blow, two sectors. We can say, look, K and H are two forms of capital. Capital of type 1, capital of type B. They're actually produced with different technologies. So instead of using that mode, personally, I would favor that, but it becomes mathematically more complicated. What is the rate? CT equal F1, K1T, H1T. Okay, IT equal F2, K2T, H2T. H little t equal F3, K3T, H3T. Okay? And then HT plus 1 equal HT plus HT. HT larger or equal than H1T plus H2T plus H3T. And KT larger or equal than K1T, K2T. And then the accumulation of KT plus 1 like that. Okay? Good. In this case, I separate. There are pizzas, there are pizzaioli, and there are ovens. Alright? You eat the pizzas that are made by the people that know how to make pizza, and they use ovens. Some people use human capital and capital to build ovens, new ovens. Some people make pizza, some people teach pizzaioli. Alright? Very simple, very clear. Problem, mathematically complicated. Right? You can work it out, but it's going to be it's going to take a while. Okay? People get scared by symbols, too many superscript, subscript, right? This is a model that treats everything symmetrically, and it's quite clear you can extend it and write 20 types of human capital, 20 types of key physical capital, and 17 consumption goods. Right? So per se, there is nothing in the theory that prevents you from treating everything very nicely and symmetrically without shortcuts. Okay? But it's a bit of a mess. So here, we're going to take some shortcuts to make it simple. But in doing so, we're going to have things are not going to be very elegant. Okay? Why? Because capital is simple, but labor, I mean human capital, I don't want to put a bit of human capital here too, otherwise I already have two sectors. Right? So you have to put something else. So here is the trick. I presume that people are born with some endowment of human capital, okay, that is fixed, call it intelligence, and I set beta equal 1. So basically, to get educated, you need resources and your brain. The brain is a fixed factor, and the resources come in linear. Why do I make it linear? Let's see, it's a technical point, but I want to test that you understand the game.
Can you repeat, sorry?
So, as I said, I can do like this, right? This is fine, those are all constant returns to scale production function, 3 sector, there's going to be growth, you accumulate K and H, balance growth, blah, blah, blah. Everything very simple. Just, lots of symbol, it's very hot, right? And a bit of mathematics to get complicated. So I can try to make things mathematically simpler, but they're less elegant. So I can assume that all the stock of human capital next period is a function of some resources that we put physically into the process today, and some intelligence that you're born with. If the intelligence is a constant, at the end, it becomes just a different B, right? Who cares? So we can take it away. Before, I had written thought this, and I put beta there, right? Where beta is a number less than 1, and larger than 0, okay? And I say, nah, but if I do like that, to simplify, I better do this. Beta equal 1. And I'm doing that for a pure technical reason. It's a bit dirty, and I want to understand, if you understand why I'm doing that. So what would happen if I put beta less than 1 there? Huh?
The marginal return of resources will be decreasing.
And? Yeah.
This will,
Yeah, that's keep thinking.
and this will lead to marginal return in human capital as decreasing in the production function.
And?
So
Why do we have human capital here? We have human capital because we want to represent something that can be accumulated, right? And enters the production function together with K. And we know that if both K and H keep growing, then Y keep growing and there is balance growth. But if the production of human capital has decreasing return that are very strong, like that, eventually H grows slowly and slowly and slowly, and asymptotically it grows at 0. So in fact it cannot grow, because asymptotically eventually it's not going to be worth giving up consumption today, because I'm giving up consumption when I take dt, to increase dt, and I get almost no human capital, so I get no extra consumption tomorrow. At that point, I stop investing in human capital. Why this is so? This is so because in simplifying the model, I have made the production of human capital function only of D and not of something else. So if there are decreasing returns in D and there's something else does not complicate, beta 1 minus beta, right, does not compensate, the growth drops. So given that I've simplified, right, because here that would be F3, right? In F3 I can have beta and 1 minus beta. It's constant return to scale as long as K3 and H3 grows, HT plus 1 grows, right? But here I stop one, there's one factor that I put fixed in that equation, right? And so the only way to keep growing is to linearize. So one has to be careful. Sometimes these assumptions are purely to simplify. Nobody believes that there is a linear, non-decreasing return thing that I just keep adding resources to education process and I get more educated people without all the other complementary factors, right? Obviously not. So it's just to keep the model simple, okay? Good, so that's the physical structure of the model. Notice that I have not put the generation. So this is a technology you can use also with infinitely lived agent. In fact, it's very easy. You can take that technology I wrote there, write down an infinite living agents problem, maximize consumption subject to the constraint that consumption is equal to output minus what I invest in physical capital minus what I invest in human capital. Physical capital is what I add plus the investment. Human capital is, you can write it like that, doesn't matter. It's that, or you can write it for an infinite lived agent, right? You could put this. You lose some of the human capital you have and you add some. No problem, no? That's it.
Some sort of depreciation.
Yeah. Some human capital depreciates, you forget things, they're not useful, blah, blah, blah. Okay? You can use this technology, stick it in a utility function of a homogeneous agent, it's very easy. You're going to get balanced growth, physical and human capital grow together, their ratio is going to be fixed at a certain point. You can work out your example yourself, in fact. Make this Cobb-Douglas, alpha 1 minus alpha, it's very simple. It becomes actually very simply a linear model because they go to a KH ratio that is optimal and they stay at that KH ratio forever. They just grow, you know, basically K and H become the same thing, right? They're just produced with two different things, but they become the same thing. You keep them in a ratio that is inversely proportional to their exponent. Actually, sorry, directly proportional to their exponent. The higher is alpha, the bigger is the amount of the. So if alpha is on K, the higher is alpha, the higher is the K respect to H. Okay? And that's it. Okay? Very simple. But my suggestion is that you try to work it out yourself. Now, with intergeneration, it's a bit more complicated and more suggestive. So the physical structure like that, now we have to give ownership. So let's give ownership in a very selfish way. The young people, if they want to invest in education, they have to borrow. Okay? So they borrow DT. Okay? And that's the choice variable. Okay? If we make them study this person is born at t minus 1. So in fact, this person borrows dt minus 1. Okay? And so its human capital is HT. Then it has HT, which receives a wage WT. And what is that this person has to do with that? Well, it has to do a lot of things. It has to consume when middle-aged. right? It has to repay dt minus 1, multiply 1 plus the rate of interest on dt. Right? They started with a debt, and so they better repay the debt. Right? Then they have to, if they want, they have to save. And they have two ways of saving, in capital and in human capital. And all this they pay with their salary. When they're old, they consume out of what? Out of what they get from their investment.